Morning guys, Stuart Fraser, PGA Professional at Sneinton Golf, and today we've got the Cobra Radspeed fairway woods to review. We've got a couple of different versions. We've got the Radspeed and then the Radspeed Big Tour. Now these two are aimed at two completely different golfers, two different markets. They do have some similar technology in them though, so we'll just go through that first. They've both got the CNC milled face. We've got the infinity face on the Radspeed and just a normal CNC milled on the Big Tour. But also they've both got the split rails on the bottom there. Now the split rails is supposed to increase face flexing right across the face for really high ball speeds. But there are quite big differences between these two. First of all, aesthetically, we've got one in matte, and then we've got the Big Tour in matte and the Radspeed in a nice shiny finish there, in a gloss finish. But also the weighting is very, very different. The weight distribution is really different on both of these. So if you can just zoom in on that, you'll be able to see that on the Radspeed, we've got the weighting well back for a lower centre of gravity, higher launch, and then the weighting is forward on the Big Tour to keep that spin down, lower that launch a little bit, and for maximum distance. Now, how they've been able to put this weight into those important areas is they've used a super lightweight carbon crown on these. So they've saved 4 grams of weight by using that carbon crown, and then they can redistribute that 4 grams into the important areas to get better launch conditions. Also, the rails are slightly different. For the higher launching golf club, which is the Radspeed, the rails are much deeper and much more obvious, where they're much flatter on the Big Tour. That's because they're kind of working around the presumption that a better player, which the Big Tour is aimed at, doesn't need as much turf. They're not going to get as much turf interaction as, say, a mid to high handicap, which the Radspeed is aimed at. We've also got a deeper face, much noticeably deeper on the Big Tour. So that's going to again produce a lower ball flight and much lower spin. Both golf clubs also have the adjustable hosel, so we can adjust these anything between 13 and 16 degrees. So that gives you those few options to be able to really dial in that trajectory and get the correct distance that you're looking for out of this fairway wood. I've got the hazardous smoke RDX shaft in both of these. It's ready to hit. So let's go and have a few shots and see how these perform. So here we are with both golf clubs. Now I've got them both set at 14.5 degrees, so it should be a fairly fair comparison. First thing to note when we get them in behind the golf ball is obviously one's a gloss finish and one's a matte finish. So the Big Tour, I think I prefer that in terms of the matte finish. It looks a lot more stealthy, a lot more modern than the more traditional gloss finish that we've got on the Radspeed. Interestingly, the Radspeed does look a lot more lofted at address, even though apparently they're both 14.5 degrees. It could be to do with the lines on the face. There's some white lines on the face of the Radspeed that may make it look more lofted. It's a shallower face, remember, so that could be it. Could be to do with the infinity top that Cobra put on these golf clubs. But either way, it definitely gives you a little bit more confidence looking down at the Radspeed because it looks a lot more lofted at address. First of all, we're going to have a go with the Big Tour, see how this performs. I'm going to have a few shots with this, get a feel for it, and I'll get back to you with the results. So first impressions on this Big Tour is that it feels very, very fast off the face, and some of the numbers I've been getting are quite surprising. That last one was 236, but I've had a couple of balls carry over 240 yards, and the wind isn't into our face today, but nevertheless it's still a really cold day. So it's really impressive in terms of distance, and this certainly does what it's supposed to do. The ball's flying quite low and penetrating, and it seems to be spinning a little bit less than what I would expect with a 3-wood. So that's definitely a combination of the deep face, the CNC milling, that nice consistent face, and all that weighting being forward. I would certainly expect the other one to fly quite a bit higher. So I'm going to have a couple of goes with this Radspeed and then we'll just compare the two. Certainly looks, as I say, miles more lofted at address. I'll just change this over so I get the results of the Radspeed, much more lofted, slightly different shaped head, but feels every bit as solid as the other one. So instantly noticeable is the higher ball flight, which is kind of what I expected. This thing does just pop up in the air, but as I say, the weighting's back, lower CG, further back. It should launch the ball higher. It should make it a little bit easier to use, which, as far as I can tell so far, it does. Looking at the numbers, the spin's up 300 or 400 RPM, and the distance is down. So this one definitely isn't going as far. I would say it's probably 10 or 12 yards short of the Big Tour, but it feels every bit as solid. The face still feels fantastic. Actually, one of the better feeling fairway woods that I've tried. It feels really, really stable and solid off the face. And I have mishit a couple, but they've still gone all right. I've still got decent results with the ones that I haven't quite got perfectly out the middle. So King Cobra have produced two fantastic fairway woods in the Big Tour and the normal Radspeed. They're both aimed at very different markets though. So just to summarise, we've got the Big Tour, which is a very different look. It's a matte look, it's a deeper face. That creates much higher ball speeds. It feels a little bit stronger lofted, so it goes a lot further. The rails on the bottom are shallower, so in terms of turf interaction, it's aimed at somebody who kind of picks the ball, doesn't really dig at it too much. And the weight's forward, so it comes off the face a lot lower with a lot less spin than the Radspeed. Now, the Radspeed, the weight is further back on the sole plate there, so much higher launch, higher MOI, much easier to hit. Very, very forgiving golf club, a really easy one to hit. It's a shallower face, so it pops the ball up in the air. Everything to do with this golf club, not so much aimed at ball speed, but aimed at ease of use, playability. So yeah, it's just easy to pop this thing up in the air. You'll be able to dig this fairway wood out of a number of different lies, and they're both adjustable, so you can dial in that trajectory and get exactly the distance that you want out of either golf club. Overall, two great golf clubs. They both feel extremely solid off the club face. The CNC milled face is a really great innovation. It does feel amazing. Both very accurate. The trajectory you can dial in with that adjustable hosel. You know, that dispersion, it was fantastic today. I don't know, I'm just swinging the golf club a little bit better, but I found both of these golf clubs to be extremely accurate. Thanks for watching our video on the new Radspeed fairway woods. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great content coming soon. But also pop us a comment in that box below as to which one you feel would benefit you the most. Is it going to be the super long Big Tour, or is it going to be the super forgiving Radspeed? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.